Oh shit!
Oh no!
Look at the time!
What?
Do you know what time it is, man?
I think so. I'm not sure. But
It's that day of the week. It is. Look.
There's nothing.
It's Friday, and what do we do Friday, man?
There's nothing there. Well, Friday, my friends, it's TLF, Tearless Fridays, and we have a very, very juicy one for you today. Oh yeah, what do we have, Flame?
Today we're gonna be talking about what we consider worthy to be mains and alts and things like that when it comes to classes in general. Last time we did something like this, I think we just talked on the DPS spec side of things, but now we're gonna talk about classes in general because it is important to know and like what you play.
And once again, this is based on what we think is fun and it's competitive and it delivers and all of that. And it is mostly based on things that we've played in the past and currently play also. So it's very subjective, but in the hopes that, you know, maybe it helps you decide on something or you kind of vibe with our pickings and stuff. It's gonna be great. And we always play our mains and alts with super good add-ons, you know, sexy UIs, super nice modifiers for a lot of the interface, like, you know, thread plates and player frames and auction house, and all of those can be made and organized with the CurseForge client, which is the sponsor of this video. Now, you know, we've been doing this for quite a while, and to no surprise, this is like the most stable add-on app you can definitely have now. Plus, the fact that it's still being updated and fine-tuned and bug-fixed and quality of life improved. Like every week there's a new update, and also the add-on creators get like a nice cut out of it. Everybody wins, basically. It's what we use, and if you want to check all of the add-ons that we currently have in all of our videos and stuff, check the link in the description.
Oh, yeah.
It helps us out, you know? And yeah, thank you very much, CurseForge, for being down with the content. And now, let's start it off with the Demon Hunter class. Havoc and Vengeance.
Okay, this is an interesting
You go, I go, you go.
Right, so let's just preface this by saying that we kind of consider S tier what we will definitely see ourselves maining, and with A, B, C's like kind of like alts and stuff, like we would more likely be able to play outside of our main. So just to put that into perspective.
And we do play all these classes now. It's just a matter of ranking them.
So now it's about ranking. For me, Demon Hunter, I think I just can start off by saying it's a solid A tier, mostly because of Havoc. Although I don't mind the occasional Vengeance here and there, I just have a special proclivity with tanking, and Marcelian can probably go a little bit more into Vengeance. So maybe his opinions are maybe opposite.
It's exactly opposite. I would put it into A tier because of the Vengeance spec, because I really find it super fun. I played Havoc too much in BFA, and I'm just a little bit jaded towards it. Because of Havoc, I'll probably rank it a little bit lower, but I do understand, like, you know, having the momentum build being super viable now, and, you know, having to choose between demonic and momentum is really cool. So I think it's definitely worth an A tier. It would be, I would say, close to a main at some point.
Yeah, I feel like if for me personally, if Vengeance had the little tanky scratch that I need for my itch, it would probably be S tier, and I can see the same probably for Marcelian as well concerning Havoc.
Yeah, but it's fair enough. But so close to being a main, probably going to be an alt. Now, Death Knight.
Death Knight.
Speak too much here.
Yeah, for Death Knight, for me, it's always been
a love-hate relationship.
If I'm gonna put the Demon Hunter into A, I have to put Death Knight into S tier.
So this is a main potential.
This is something that I can definitely see myself maining. I mean, I did main it before. Yep. I like pretty much all of the spec. It's one of the very few classes that I really like all of the specs that it has. It's a very fun and rewarding tank when you're playing Blood. Frost is a very chill, lax DPS that you can just go into.
Frost is chill?
That was actually a happy accident. And Unholy gets into that little meaty part of the rotation. Like, man, I kind of want to see if I can get a little bit more depth of the class. That's what you do with Unholy. So that's actually pretty cool. That's where I see DK for me.
DK for me is just another spec that, no, I won't say spec, the class in general. So Blood for me is a big no-no. I'm just not attracted to it. I do have a lot of interest on playing Unholy. I'm just too scared to try it right now. It's level 50 right there. It's sitting there waiting for me. But, you know, I'm not going to say anything since I haven't played DK since like Warlords of Draenor. So I'm just going to keep with Flame's idea. Now, going into the Druid. Druid is basically a great all-rounder. If Boomkin wasn't there, or okay, let me rephrase that. So if Boomkin would have some form of changing your aspect, and I'm not talking about the glyph of stars, okay? Some different way of looking at yourself and animations and all of that. That would be cool.
One of our viewers pointed out that he would play Boomkin if you had the Kyrian Steward appearance to be as
okay. That would be that would be funny.
Like the Arnold owl.
The Arnold owl, yeah. Boomkin aside, okay, it's a matter of preference here. I love Feral, I love Guardian, and I love Resto. So this, for me at least, would be an easy S tier, definitely. I mean, I have mained Feral, and I did play a little bit of Guardian and a bit more Resto. Tried Boomkin, you all know the story, I'm not gonna go in there, but definitely S tier. What do you said on this?
Do
we keep it on it? Do we keep it on it?
I would have put it into
Shut up, man,
tier.
we keep it S tier.
I actually like balance a lot more than you do. I personally am not a big fan of Feral, but I haven't played Feral as much as I did in 9.0.
Man, I'm gonna fuck you up.
I'd rather listen. As cliche as
this show is over.
As cliche as this sounds, I'd rather play Rogue than Feral, which is a little bit weird.
It's a different world.
I know. I'm not saying they're the same spec, but I mean, if I want to play like a combo-based finisher type class, I play Rogue, and if I want to play like a hybrid melee Druid, I'd play Guardian, or Resto as well. I definitely see myself playing Resto a lot. I love Resto Druid. Guardian, I would put it into A tier, but Resto is definitely close to S tier, and Boomy is also close to S tier for me. So I guess we can keep it there. It's particularly fine. I don't hate Feral as much as you hate Boomy, okay? So you cannot give me any
all right,
shit.
Fair enough. Good argument. Okay, now let's move along to the Hunter spec, which is your current main now, Survival, obviously.
Okay, let me talk a little bit about the Hunter. So obviously I'm maining Survival, and for the first time in like 15 years, 16 years, 15 years.
It's a long time.
I'm actually happy choosing Hunter as my main class. Pretty much anything possible. I am playing Survival pretty much in all situations, but I do occasionally go to BM and Marksman. So for me, Hunter is definitely S tier. It has everything that I kind of want in a DPS. I like to have control, I have to have mobility, I have to have damage, burst, all kinds of cool cooldowns, a lot of tools.
Cooldowns.
Okay, so I think Hunter can be considered like maybe the rogue or the warrior of range. It has a lot of CCs, a lot of control, a lot of options.
A lot of tools.
Things happen around you, so that's why mainly I like Hunter.
Yeah, I played Survival in a lot in BFA, and actually, like in the guild we're in now, I applied as Survival back in 8.1.5, I believe, and they wouldn't take me as Survival, so I had to switch to BM. I mean, BM was always kind of like a more boring spec for me, but I do love the appeal and the fantasy of and the freedom to basically do whatever from long distance, which is cool. Marksman, definitely another, like, I would say fantasy-wise, that's like for me like the truest Hunter spec out of an RPG. But Survival is the main dish, and I used to love it, but Flame is playing it now, so I can 100% agree. S tier definitely worth a shot for maining. That being said, time for the Mage, which is, I think, a love-hate relationship, at least for Flame, because I know he hates fire, or he never liked fire, but he kind of dug the other two specs.
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to the Mage class fantasy as a whole, but I feel like going any of the specs feels like I'm kind of missing like a crucial part of being a Mage. So for me, Mage would be at most a B tier, but I don't mean it like it's a bad. Like one of my favorite NPCs and fantasies of WoW are mages. Like I love Khadgar and Medivh like nothing else, and they're both kind of arcane-y. I feel like Mage is overall a good class. It feels nice to play. I just feel in terms of death and on the fantasy of it, it's lacking a little bit. Fire might need like one or two more spells to actually bring me into the, oh my god, I'm a fire mage. The arcane kind of can get probably one or two more temporal type spells that can give it that feel. And Frost, I mean, Frost, I'm actually kind of fun. Frost has probably the coolest
again,
mage feel.
Frost is cool. Frost DK is chill.
Pattern here.
Listen, Frost DK is chill. Frost Mage is
like
cool.
Frost DK and Frost Mage.
And Fire
Flame,
Mage is
so
hot.
But yeah, so in terms of fantasy, I think Frost Mage does it the best out of all the mage specs.
Yes,
you
I
have
agree.
Blizzard, you have Frost Nova, you have Frozen Orb, you have
Activision. Too soon.
So I think like Frost is probably the best one. So if I had to rank just with Frost, maybe it would be like a B or A tier, but I would still put it into B for myself.
Yeah, definitely B tier. I've kind of, I love Fire and I love Frost, Arcane 2. I've been playing it a lot as an alt, definitely alt material. It's probably going to be, I did consider it being my main in the next patch, the Frost Mage, but I have to agree with Flame on the, I would say, delivering the full-on spec fantasy of it and a little bit of I don't know, a couple of more buttons to press, or not even to press, to synergize, to make something happen. This is like kind of where we fall on the same page. We like specs that have a little bit more intricacy in between, their mechanics and buttons to press. I mean, if you want a mega giga button spec, you can play enhancement or outlawed. That's a lot of buttons, but having some synergies between them and making something really cool work, that's a whole different story. B tier means it's probably gonna be an alt, but a great contender nonetheless, more played than others. Now, the Monk class, which I have to say, Windwalker has been a true love letter for both of us for quite a while. I've been playing Windwalker on and off since like Mist of Pandaria. It's been one of my purest jams. I kind of suffered with the Windwalker monks for the longest time because they weren't like that good for the majority of the, I would say, semi-competitive content in World of Warcraft, but the class fantasy there, the mechanics are there. This is exactly what I'm talking about, synergies between abilities and making shit happen. Not gonna talk about the spinning crate kick bugs and all of that. That's fine. It's super meta right now, at least in dungeons. Always had issues with single target. In terms of like healing, Mistweaver I always loved as well. So and Brewmaster I haven't really touched it that much, but you can have your piece. I can definitely put it into an S tier.
All right. Monk would be a little bit A tier for me.
Why?
Windwalker is fun, but if I have to choose between Survival, Unholy, and Frost and Windwalker, I would always choose Windwalker last. So I cannot honestly put them into the same tier spec. Brewmaster is also a tank I would play after Guardian and Blood Decay and Prot Warrior and Prot Paladin and maybe even. No, I probably play before Vengeance Demon Hunter, so that's kind of where Monk is for me. But I can see S tier because I still think that Monk as a class, with a little bit of ifs on the Brewmaster side, I think Monk as a class is maybe one of their best designed classes.
Peace out to Chris Kalicki.
in terms of rotation, in terms of cooldown, in terms of damage profile, sure you can tweak the single target here and there for Windwalker, and that's all fine and dandy. That's just numbers. But in terms of how it feels and how it rewards play, I think Windwalker still, even though I wouldn't main it anytime soon, I agree that it's maybe one of the best designed classes in the game. Both healers and DPS, and maybe even Brewmaster, although I have my gripes with tanking a little bit.
Okay, fair enough. Now, let's move along to the Paladin. We're probably going to have a lot of S tiers. So, Paladin,
that's why I had said it as they're putting a lot into S tier.
Okay, fair enough. But when it comes to Paladin, I don't think there's any debate here. I mean, you love Red, you love Prot.
I love Prot, Red, and Holy in that order.
So here's the deal. I've been playing Paladin like my whole life, but this is the only expansion I haven't made it. I cannot get like bored of it. I cannot get, with all its glaring issues during like the whole entirety of the World of Warcraft expansions or whatever. I just love the Paladin fantasy. I love the fantasy of bringing retribution, but also being able to help others. Right? There's this concept. There's like, okay, I can have your back and like burst somebody that picked on Flame. But if Flame gets really courageous and gets fucked up, then I can throw him a heal and sacrifice a little bit from myself and have transfer some of his pain to me so we can share. It's all love. I love it.
I'm feeling emotional right now.
Just because Red Paladin is such a dear spec for me, Paladin is always going to be an S tier. This will be my main next patch, so there's no comparison.
Yeah, we can talk about. I cannot argue with that. It's very close. I did consider maining Paladin, and I kind of mained it for like 2 months back after we finished raiding in 9.0. Up until 9.05, I think I played pretty much all Paladin and Red Paladin. I was really into it. and I still like it. I feel like it does have its things that it can be improved. I really wish that Paladin wouldn't feel as squishy as it does, because it feels like it should be one of the most beefy. I feel Paladin should be
so fast.
Should be tankier than a warrior, because you would consider warrior, you know, you strip down your armor and you just rush in like a mania with a battle axe or whatever. But Paladin kind of, you know, takes precaution. It's like paying attention to. It's an important part of the group. I feel like it should be a little bit more tanky.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of things we can talk about in terms of like fixing stuff, but you know, just in overall terms,
it's a good. I definitely see myself maining the Paladin.
100% my main next patch. Okay, now priest. For priest, obviously we can talk about Shadow, which is I think the most right now in Shadowlands. It is the star of all of the 3 specs, I would believe. Discipline is also fun, but I think Shadow at this point with all of the reworks and stuff kind of took its place in terms of popularity. Holy is very strong as well, you know, delivers on that.
Holy has been picking up speed. Well, priest is an interesting class because I'm like strangely hooked to it, mostly Shadow, because I feel like if I haven't played Rogue, but I think I can confidently yet in this expansion, but I think I can confidently say that maybe Shadow Priest is the spec that I'm worst at the moment, and that just bugs me. And I keep picking it up, and I'm whenever I get the chance to play my priest, I try to always practice, and
it's not easy.
It has that little hook, man. It's like, why am I not able to play this goddamn spec? So for me, I'm probably playing priest one of the most, but I cannot really put it into S here because I'm actually in the process of discovering the class as well. I definitely like discipline. I think it's one of the coolest healers out there. I love playing discipline, and I don't mind Holy, but I guess Holy is maybe my least favorite spec in the game. But seeing as how I'm really struggling to get this class, to see if I want to be good at this, can I be good at this? And I'm still kind of figuring that out. For me, it's around like A tier. And that's where I would put it.
Definitely worth a shot on the.
It can be higher or lower depending on.
Yeah, I agree. For me, always Shadow and Discipline were always super nice to play. Definitely, I think in all patches, alts. So I inevitably played some of these specs as an alt. Now I forgot to mention. So this tier list right here, like you can ignore D, E, and F because these are basically non-existent.
Yeah,
it's
there
basically
are a lot of too many tiers.
C would be the last tier for us, and here it's like, okay, I would definitely not play this, but you know, B is like potential main, A is definitely main, B is potentially alt, A definitely alt, and S definitely a main. Okay, so D and
we
D,
can
F.
Put some like graphics over DNFs. Like,
yeah, something like that will happen.
Like Activision Blizzard.
Okay, now for the next spec, Mr. Rogue, no worries here. There's no competition and there's no debate here, guys.
Well, what am I gonna say?
No, well, I'm gonna say so. Sub Rogue is one of the coolest and most smoothest and most rewarding specs you could ever play in this game in terms of melees, okay? The core concept of it, like once you grasp it and understand how it works, like aligning cooldowns and prepping in advance and, you know, having access to that quick damage all the time, and man, there's so many things you can. This is the thing about sub. There's so min-maxing you can do and changes and tweaks you can do to improve your stuff. Like things like
changing legendaries and forgetting to change back.
No, but listen. For example, I'll give you an example. So you always kind of want to align your symbols of death with your shadow dance, right? So your symbols of death are available now, but you still have 5 more seconds until your first charge of shadow dance comes off cooldown. Now you have 3 combo points. What you can do is use an eviscerate for 3 combo points, which a lot of people will hate for, but get your shadow dance available so you can pair it up with symbols. It's little things like that, which you probably wouldn't do, but you always have to be aware of those and always track your cooldowns to make sure you always align them, and this is how you always prep your game, right? It's really cool. Now, Assassination, a super beefy single target monster. If you enjoyed I would say the fantasy of bleeding up and poisoning up your enemies, this is what Assassination does. Granted, it's not as preppy and as, you know, super wary of like sub. And Outlaw, obviously, you know, the cleave and AoE monster that it is, hands down. It delivers all the rogue specs deliver on different levels of fantasy, and plus they're also very competitive. So there's no questions. One of my favorite classes to play of all time, rogues. I'm sorry, it has to be an S tier.
Yeah, no,
I main it now. So.
I definitely consider the maining, like for me, I kind of like the fantasy of Assassination the most, but I can definitely see myself enjoying sub the most.
Oh man,
because I am into that little nitty gritty rotation where you can just like cut 10,000 corners to get that little bit of extra damage and that little bit of extra optimization. I always found the concept of assassination in raid being really interesting because you're just focusing on that one target. You're using all of your bleeds and all of your poisons. And to be fair, maybe I would have definitely seen assassination as the top tier if stuff like Sanguinate could be meta. I think it's still not meta yet.
You talked about earlier feral versus assassination. Well, here's the deal. Assassination is so slow and mind-numbing, boring in pure single target versus feral. I mean, feral really keeps you on your toes, but assassination is basically you have your opener, which you make sure you don't fuck up, but after that, just maintain bleeds and that's it.
Fair enough. But see, if I wanted like a fast-paced spec, like something to keep me on toes, I would probably play sub instead. But I definitely see assassination. I don't know. There's something about assassination and raiding that just clicks with me. And outlaw, I like pirates. So what is there not to like?
All right, Mr. Pirate. But what about shamans? What about shamans?
Okay.
Shaman
is always going to be a class very dear to me. It's the first class I've ever leveled to level 60 with back 14, 15 years ago. I love Restoration. Shaman is maybe right now one of my favorite healer specs. I think we did the tier list for healers right now.
Last week.
Elemental is very fun and Enhancement is also very fun, but for some reason they just don't keep me hooked as a main. Like I could definitely see myself always having fun whenever I have to play with them, but for some reason they just don't have that little. Maybe Elemental could have that if I just decided to play Shaman, because it does have the little complexity that you can use to get, or that little difficulty or the skill ceiling that you can use. So always strive for something more, always improve. There's always something that you can work on, and that's something that keeps me engaged with the game. But Restoration right now is definitely my favorite Shaman spec, and I would definitely put it into A tier. I did main it in 9.0, and I was kind of disappointed by how Enhancement scaled throughout the raid. I felt like I was constantly getting left behind, and I felt like I had to sweat bullets to be able to do damage that, let's say, any other person would just like, I'm just drinking coffee, Netflix, and I'm putting damage. Oh, I'm doing the same much as an Enhancement. Fuck.
Yeah,
but I feel it has a lot of potential. Elemental is definitely one of the best specs in the game right now, but I feel like I always resonate more towards Enhancement, and it's just a shame that it's just not getting it.
Oh, so I feel sorry. I remember you raiding with your enhancement and being frustrated and stuff, and you're doing really good mechanically, but just the numbers won't add up just because the class wasn't too right. But nevertheless, Warlock.
I mean, also A tier.
Definitely an A tier for sure.
Warlock is like Shaman, like a very close class to my heart. I mained it at the beginning of BFA through Deer. And I really like that Affliction right now kind of has a really good place in M+ with Seed of Corruption. I can definitely see myself having more fun in M+ with Affliction than any other Warlock spec, and I never thought I would ever say this.
I mean, ignore the big juicy chaos bolts.
Hey, listen, they did buff Nether Portal for 915, although I'm not sure if it's enough, because right now in 915, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, but in 915, Nether Portal has a 2.5 minute cooldown, which means that now, successfully, Warlock has a 1 minute cooldown, a 45-second cooldown, 1.5 minute cooldown, and a 2.5 minute cooldown. So, do you match shit anymore? Who the fuck ever knows? But the whole lore of it, the aspect of it, Warlock, mind you, was the first class back in I think in BFA pre-patch that got the new spell animations. You know, the animation where it feels like you're pulling shit from the ground. Warlock, cool. Demonology Warlock, to be precise, was the very first spec, very first class that got that animation. So it's cool. You're summoning demons, you're raining destructions, you're breaking planets apart. Like, what is there not to love?
It's raining destruction. Hallelujah. Okay, next one is Arms Warrior, and I love it.
Don't forget the love for the other spectrum.
I love Fury, man. I actually love Fury more than Arms because it feels much more smoother. I love Arms as well, but my main jam is Fury.
Can you put it in front of the Druid?
In front of the Druid for sure.
Yes, please.
Okay, so just going to say out there, I know Warrior is a meta class, especially the DPS ones. I know you love Prot Warrior, and I love playing with Prot Warriors. Fury, as I've said, super smooth, super smashy. It's more of that high APL, but /spammy, just try not to insult anybody here. So what I love about it is if I want to play something that is a bit more fast and a bit more actiony, I always go to Fury, and I love it for it. If I want to play something that it's a little bit more preppy, a little bit more, I would say, calculated, segmented, tactical, then I will go for Arms. And it's so cool that they deliver so nice on both of these fantasies. I just love playing Warrior.
Similar to Monk, I think Warrior, although I still feel like Monk is a little bit better designed than Warrior, I feel like Warrior is one of the best classes designed as well. Like Pro Warrior is like leagues above Brewmaster. I'm sorry, Brewmaster Monks, but if you want to be a tank and you want to feel like a tank, you kind of have to play Pro Warrior. Sure, Bear is a solid rock that will never die. But man, when you press that shield block and you don't see your HP move, that's why, because I play Pro Warrior is really why I cannot enjoy any other tank besides Prot and Blood. It's just that feeling of, okay, right now, I'm not taking any damage. You can only really say that with Pro Warrior in this game, and probably Bear as well. Obviously, just like Marcelian said, Arms Warrior is very tactical, and it's usually my go-to Warrior DPS spec, and Fury is just, man, whenever I think of Fury, I think of like, dude, this has been a long week. We worked a lot. It's Friday night. I'm just gonna chill with some beer.
Let's just have
pure fun. Smash some shit, man. I don't want to think. I don't want to. It's not like Fury is an easy spec. I'm not saying that, but Fury is like a lot more streamlined, a lot more fluid,
That's
a lot more
saying,
consistent. So it's, you don't need to worry about anything. You constantly. I think Fury still probably plays anger management, meaning that you're constantly going to reduce your cooldown. So you don't really need to think about aligning shit. Just press it when it's available.
Yeah. So this is basically it. This is our mains and alts rankings. Yeah. Well, this is the thing. It's the actual tier list is S, A, B, and C. And C would mean that we will never touch this spec. Yeah. So obviously, during all of these years, we've been making guides and all sorts of videos. We went through all of these specs like consistently, and we
kind of fell in love with the
most of them are really, really good, and especially now in Shadowlands, I would say all of the specs can do any type of content, mid-tier content, so plus 15s
even a little
and
bit
heroic.
about mid-tier, I think.
Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of things going towards it. Now, in terms of a general feedback, I think we can all agree that maybe for next expansion we will rely a little bit less on external powers and actually have more shit, you know, added to the classes.
The class a little bit more.
Yes, that's something that we are wishful for. I know Ian mentioned this, that they kind of exaggerate with the borrow power and they kind of want to get back to adding to classes, which is great. But we all know we cannot trust nobody from there anymore. But this is the list. Now, you know who you can trust, always trust?
Our Patreons,
baby.
Yeah, thank you so very much for supporting everything that we do, and all of this new stuff that you've been seeing on our channel for the last couple of weeks is in no small part thanks to you.
Yes.
Everything is very much appreciated, especially in these trying times for WoW YouTubers, because it's kind of like iffy. But yeah, if you, the viewer, also like what you're seeing and you kind of want to support us a little bit more, the link is down below. You might find some goodies that you like. You might find some more stuff that you can get access to as part of
wallpapers with your character, or you know, access to blooper videos and stuff. You know, Patreon's monthly chat. There's a lot of stuff going on there and behind the scenes. So once again, thank you, Patreons, for your support. Thank you for watching the video. And you know what we're gonna say next, right? You know what it is. Are you ready? Are you ready? Are you ready? Have a great weekend. And
a happy new year.
See you next one. Bye.
I've been loving it then, I still love it now. Still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. Getting better every day, let me show you how. Cause still, I play WoW. Still, I play WoW. It's getting harder to stay, but at the end of the day, it's a guilty pleasure, so just log in and play. Whether it's classic or retail, I'ma do a /bow. Still, I play WoW.